Welcome to episode 2 of the Triple Tech podcast on the Distinct Sports Network, our second week of NBA coverage. And we'll probably just start off where everyone's talking on the playoffs. So we're recording this on the Wednesday now. So we'll mainly talk about Tuesdays and maybe a couple of Mondays games. But last night, probably the biggest performance, you'd say, maybe not the biggest story, but the best performance was Miami and Jimmy Butler's 45 points. So last week, Connie, you said you decided to go bold and say you had Atlanta in 7. Are you switching from that?
It's tough because I really want to still just in case the unthinkable happens. But Atlanta just don't look like the same team that they were last season for whatever reason. Trae Young still looks like he is a bucket, but it just feels like no one else is really stepping up right now. I know Bogdanovic had a decent game off the bench last night, but Miami, I think I did fall victim to underestimate Miami just a little bit. They do look much more complete than I thought they would. And obviously last season I just kind of wrote Jimmy Butler off because he was pretty awful in the playoffs last season. But as you see yesterday, 45 points, carried his team to the win. Do I see the Hawks doing the upset anymore? No. Would it be cool? So my prediction could be right, yes, but I'll probably change it. I think Miami will go through it now, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, Miami have had 2 sort of outlier player performances. So Duncan went off in the first game, Jimmy Butler went off in the second. I think Bam's had 2 games of 9 and 6 points. Heroes had a game of 15 and 6 points. So it's like the 2 of their maybe top 3 offensive players haven't even got going yet. So I think once all things actually click for Miami, obviously their defense has been exceptional on Trae, really. But yeah, once all the things click, I think, as I said, I still think this will go 5 games. I think Miami will get one maybe on Friday or Sunday, and then once it's back home, they'll be fine. Have you managed to catch any of the games?
Yeah, I mean, watching the Heat Hawks game is kind of exactly what I said last week. I mean, Jimmy Butler is that big game player. We did mention obviously last year's performance, bit of an outlier. But like I was saying, time and time again, Jimmy showed when it counts, he shows up. I mean, there's the finals performance, yes, but he will with Timberwolves into their first playoff appearance at like 20, something ridiculous, like 10 years. Yeah. He did amazing stuff for Philadelphia. This is just who Jimmy Butler is. I also think it really speaks to the Heat culture. The fact that Duncan had 0, I'm pretty sure last.
Yeah, didn't take a shot.
Yeah, exactly, right. And that speaks to the Heat culture, is that our next man up culture is always another man, another body who's going to perform. I mean, their team is so well constructed. Having a player like Max Strauss on the side as well. There's shooters everywhere. This allows for the flow of the basketball to play almost a Golden State type of style where there's this constant movement, and that's just a beautiful way to play the game.
Yeah, I mean, I have them going to the finals. I think they'll certainly get to at least the conference finals. But into the West, the Grizzlies bounce back. They're my second team to look at today. Connie, you will have seen the game, and I'm. Well, maybe you were out last night, but you probably watched.
I did watch the second half. I felt very guilty missing the first half. I watched the second half.
But you will have seen Memphis bounce back against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So what did you see in that game? Because I didn't see that game because that was sort of halfway through.
Yeah, what I saw was the supporting cast. And a big part of Memphis' season this year, a big part of our season has been our supporting cast. All season, obviously, Jar's been the star, but everybody else chips in, and that has been the reason that we have had so much success this season. But in game 1, we didn't really have that. I don't know what it was. People just weren't making their shots, and Bane wasn't making his 3. Steven Adams didn't get any points. It wasn't a great watch to game 1, to be honest. I was quite angry throughout the whole game because we didn't deserve to win, and we didn't win. But yesterday it was completely different. We had 7 players in double digits last night. We had Jaren, Bane, Xavier Tillman, who is very big off the bench because obviously Adams only played 3 minutes last night. And Xavier Tillman, just like last year's player, improves. He can step up in the big games. He can get important points. Brandon Clark had a good game last night, and one of the most underrated rookies this season, Zion Williams, double digits, and then one of the better backup point guards in the league, Tyus. So that's everyone chips in for the Grizzlies, and we win the game. We destroyed them. Game one, at the end of the game, where they're signing the ball. Patrick Beverley's pretending to do the little Memphis gritty, doing the jar gritty, and just to get bad in game two. Bit embarrassing, to be honest. And my prediction stands. I've got Memphis in 6. I think Minnesota will take another game. They got quality. Anthony Edwards had a good game last night again, but no, I've got Memphis in 6.
Yeah, me too. How about you, Om?
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what I was expecting. The first game was a bit of an outlier. It kind of that speaks to more of a Timberwolves style of play and less so against the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are a young team and they are so talented. They're going to win this series. They have too much talent. The Timberwolves, they shoot the most threes and they make the most threes, and that's just the nature of a game. They're quick, they're fast paced, but if they're just off on a night, then they're off on a night. It's kind of as simple as that. Do I think the Timberwolves can win another game in this series? Absolutely. If they get hot again, anything is possible. But I still see this as a Grizz win in 6.
Yeah. Well, we're all unanimous there. No,
Yeah.
you got it right though. Like Minnesota are really gonna live and die by that 3. Their defense is not really going to step up another level. They've got Patrick Beverley, but do they really have any other stoppers? I like Anthony Edwards. He's a good defender. He's not great yet. Cat isn't really up there. D'Lo's maybe not going to shift his feet as well as other guards. So yeah, I think Memphis just have such a nicely rounded team. So Minnesota probably do have like more 20-point scorers, like X factor players, but just the depth. I know your playoff rotation shortens or whatever, but there's so many guys for Memphis who could share the ball. They'll make the extra pass, get the open 3, and yeah, I agree with you guys. Memphis is 6, probably going to be the right call. And then in the other game last night was in Phoenix, probably one of the surprise results of the whole playoff so far. Maybe a reason to it, which was Booker getting injured. But you seem interested in this.
I got to disagree with that one. I've heard that narrative go around Twitter. And
you're right. They were already ahead, weren't they?
They were already up.
Yeah.
They were already up when Booker was down. And yeah, Booker was having an incredible game. And obviously, I do hope he recovers and comes back quickly, because this hamstring injury, stuff he's had earlier on in the season, I think as of right now, they're saying game 4 or 5 for targeting the return.
Yeah, 3 or 4 they think he'll miss.
3 or 4, right. So, but what I think the standout performance in that game was Brandon Ingram. I mean, I feel like Brandon Ingram is a player who's kind of gone under the radar this season. Obviously, he had a breakout year a couple of years ago, and he's kind of been on that trajectory. CJ played great, but CJ's a vet. He's been in these big moments. He's been in the playoffs for multiple times. But watching Brandon Ingram perform the way he did yesterday, it was really, really promising to me. And it makes me more annoyed that Zion's not playing, because it just makes you think, if Zion was on this team, I feel like this series would go to 7, and it would be a very, very close series, because who is going to stop Zion? Like, really, there's not many bodies on the Phoenix Suns would have, or many of the top contending teams in the West would have, to stop a Zion Williamson. This gets me angry. This makes me think, if Zion was healthy, I think the Pelicans would have a chance to get into the finals. I don't know if that's a hard take.
The whole thing.
Yeah, I think that's what I think. I don't think there's a body in the NBA who can stop. In the West, that is, who can stop Zion. Maybe Giannis in the East.
Draymond Green?
Too slow. He's too slow.
Come on.
That's how hot I am on
one of the best defensive players ever, man. No, I would have to disagree. I do think Zion can be stopped to an effect. Like, he's not really got that outside shot and that outside shot creation. So everything's fairly reliant on getting into the paint. And you can always plan for someone getting into the paint. So I'm not sure. I think the finals is optimistic. I think if you're saying they would have a chance in this series, I think, yeah, you'd be right. But of course, with that Booker injury now, and if that stretches to maybe 3 games, and the Pelicans maybe snatch 2. I mean, Phoenix are in trouble. What about you, Connor? How do you feel if Booker is out for, as they say, two maybe 3 games?
I've still got a lot of faith in Phoenix. As I said, I think they run a lot deeper than just Devin Booker. Obviously, they got Chris Paul, they got Bridges, who's a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, and then they've got players like Johnson and Payne that can do a job. But one man that in this series that really needs to start stepping up for Phoenix is Ayton. Ayton has been getting bullied by Jonas Valanciunas his first 2 games. Especially on the offensive glass. In the first 2 games, Valanciunas has 20 more rebounds than Ayton. For whatever reason, that just can't happen. That simply cannot happen because you're giving second chance opportunities to players like Ingram, to players like McCollum, and things like that will hurt you, and they will end up taking games like they did yesterday. I do still have Phoenix in 5, even if Booker does miss game 3 and 4. But DeAndre Ayton really needs to step up because he's looking like a child out there with Valanciunas right now.
Yeah, I mentioned this as well the other day. I'm really not high on Ayton. He wanted that max contract at the end of last year.
Yeah.
As things are going, he's not really going to get it. He's going to fall a bit shy. So yeah, I agree. I think Phoenix might just be all right, just because of they lost Booker for a while toward mid to late in the season, and they still carried on fine. And I think Chris Paul, as you saw in the first game, he can step up and just score with the best of them still. So yeah, I've got the Suns as 6, but before it was 5. So that Booker injury still does hurt them. The team who's probably impressed the most, I'd say, are the Warriors. I think
boys.
Me and you picked them to win the whole thing.
Yep.
But still, they've been so impressive against undermanned, but still the Denver Nuggets.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this whole PTSD lineup where everybody's going on about right now: Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Draymond Green. I mean, I was telling people from the start, if those guys get hot, there is not a team. Maybe the only team who could honestly ever compete with them when they get hot is another Golden State team from a few years ago. I mean, that's not even to mention Andrew Wiggins. Now, he didn't have a stellar performance now, but still contributing a double-digit, 13 points there. The team runs deep and they're full of killers. And the team isn't even healthy as well. I mean, that's the craziest thing about it. Your people coming off injuries. Steph came off the bench to drop, I think it was 34. I mean, that's just ridiculous. They're not even at full speed yet. And let's say how it is. I mean, the Nuggets are in a really, really unfortunate situation. If they had Murray and Michael Porter Jr., it'd be a very, very different series. But Golden State are just going to use this as practice. That's all this is. They're just getting their rhythm, they're just getting in their shots. So performance practicing plays they would like to use further down the road because the Nuggets have no answer. So right now, this is just practice for them. This is just easy money. I mean, I'm so hot on the Golden State Warriors. They're my pick to win it all, and I think they're going to run through the West in a very, very dominant fashion. The only real threat is Phoenix, and Phoenix is going to be, they'll have Booker coming back, but I just don't see any match for if Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, and Steph Curry are hot. Who's going to stop them?
You were saying they've still got a few players like not 100%. You think they've still got players like the number 2 overall pick, James Wiseman, who hasn't even played this year. Like,
exactly.
Young players like Kuminga, Moody can't even really crack the rotation at the moment. Kuminga a bit more than Moody, but like that franchise just keeps getting more and more good players. And like you think after Curry and Clay and Draymond are done, the Warriors will be finished. They've got too many young players now to be finished. Exactly. They're just coming back around, and they're going to be like contenders for ages now.
That's what I'm saying. I think the emergence of Jordan Poole, having Andrew Wiggins, he's not too old at all. Having a Wiseman, having a Kuminga, Golden State have arguably done the best draft work in the last 15 years in the NBA. I don't think that's an unreasonable thing to say. Looking at the picks they've got, the players they've got at the points they've got them. But I think their championship window is easily another 5 to 6 years. Easily another 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
A 40-year-old Steph Curry, with all the other pieces around him, is still a serviceable player. The same way a Ray Allen was serviceable late into his career in Miami, just because of the gravity he's gonna have as a threat. I mean, I'm so hot on the Warriors. I think they're gonna easily win in the next 5 years. I see the Warriors winning 2 more rings, and that is Steph's claim to being a top 10 to top 5 player of all time.
So, Connor, you had the Suns to come out the West. Are you going to stick with them, or maybe switch with us and go for the Warriors?
I'm sticking with the Suns, plainly because this Warriors team is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, they are, and they've proven it in the first 2 games. But just to put a spin on it, I'm really, really disappointed in this Denver Nuggets team. I had this series going 7. Who knows? It's still good. I understand that they don't have their starters like Jamal Murray, Paul Jr. I know they're both out, but it's just so disappointing. Like for whatever reason, Aaron Gordon missed. He's a second option at the end of the day. He needs to act like it. 8 points and 7 points in the first 2 games. Jeff Green, 3 points and 7 points in the first game. They're both starters. For whatever reason, that can't happen. You can't just give the ball to Jokic and just pray. Like that can't be your game plan. Look at the Mavs without Luka. Jalen Brunson 41. Yeah. Maxi Kleber, an amazing game. They beat a full team Jazz. And there's no reason the Denver Nuggets can't at least show a bit of fight about them. They're showing more fight on the timeouts than they are on the court right now. It's a bit embarrassing, to be honest. And then the only player off the bench that's showing any bite, the only player off the bench that's hit double-digit points at all in the first 2 games is Bones Highland, the rookie. Like, there's no fight in that Denver Nuggets team. And I know you guys said last week about if they get bounced first round, Jokic is very low. I understand Jokic is very low, but he's only going to be so low as the players around him. The players around him don't look like they care right now. And who knows, we could see a big switch in this series, but the Denver Nuggets, 50-win team, they've really disappointed me right now.
Well, I think Denver's been worked out slightly. All year, everyone would be like, let's double Jokic, get the ball out of his hands. And he'd just make the open pass. Either they'd shoot a 3 or they'd make the extra pass and get an open look. But they're just making him play one-on-one in the post and not letting him get into deep post positions and get near the basket and making him beat them himself. Like he's not able to make any of those wide open passes that he had been all season. Like he'd be up at 7-8 assists all year. So like without that, you think that offense is really going to struggle because they've got not great shooters, but all right, 35 to 40% shooters. So if you just surround Jokic with those sorts of guys, and then obviously on the defensive end, they're just running pick and roll and just putting him in that action. And it's the same with Rudy Gobert, and at least Rudy can protect the rim. Jokic is really struggling to move with this Warriors team. So yeah, I think I might have had it in 5. I'll stick with that because of the Denver altitude. Maybe that can get them a game, but yeah, it's really not looking good for them. And I think you're right with the trade talks. There'll be rumors. There'll be like mumblings under the surface. And if they have a bad year again in the playoffs next year, I think you're right. There'd be serious concerns that Jokic would want to leave. Onto we've got the Mavs game. We'll say Luka's going to be hopefully back for the next game. Just quickly, you guys think is that going to go much deeper than 6, or do you think it could go 7? Either way,
I still have a Mavs in 7. I still think it's going 7 games. I just think there's a 2 equal distribution of talent amongst that series. And Donovan Mitchell, when you're a game when he has those ballistic games, he's proven it time and time again. Since a rookie, I mean, he's had those ballistic games where he'll win you it. But I think this is the end of the Jazz as we see him now. And it's going to be at the mercy of Luka Doncic. He's gonna take over when he comes back, and this will be the Mavs in 7.
Yeah,
obviously I had the Mavs in 6, but I might change it to Mavs in 5 now. This Utah team is just they're looking woeful right now. If Luka comes back, they are really, really, really up against it. And it's a shame to see that. I think they're going to get walked in the next few games. I'm not going to lie. The game 2 was beyond disappointing, to be honest. Like that Utah team, there's just something about it. There's talent there, but they just don't fit. They just don't work for each other. They don't work together. It just doesn't fit. And it's Rudy Gobert that is obviously he's a very good defensive player in the paint, but as soon as it goes to the 3-point line, Rudy Gobert he may as well not be there. You saw towards the end of the game last time, Finney Smith and Maxi Kleber just getting open looks for 3 whenever they felt like it. When Gobert was on them, they were making them every single time. And at the end of the day, it was still a close game, but that's ended up tipping it into Dallas's favor. And if they're winning without Luka Doncic, they're going to win with Luka Doncic.
Yeah, I think we're looking at Rudy's last three games as a member of the Utah Jazz. I mean, like there are still teams that will take him. You think maybe Chicago, maybe Charlotte have always needed a center. Hey, even New York, maybe.
Don't.
But yeah, I think this is his last 3 or 4 games. I'm excited to see Luca back because I really think Dallas could go deep this year. So yeah, I've still got Dallas in 5. And then just quickly before we get onto our awards and our All NBA teams, we've got Celtics, Nets, Raps, 76ers, and Bucks versus Bulls. I assume we're all going for a Bucks win tonight. Yeah. Although to be fair to the Bulls, they put up a little more fight than I think most people thought they would.
The Bucks having a bad game though, and they still managed to get it done. So.
Yeah. And Raptors versus 76ers. I'll touch on this one quickly because I had some strong words for the 76ers before the start of this. But to be fair to them, you've got to give them credit where credit's due. They've even though they're getting a lot of free throws, they're still they're playing good basketball. They're doing what they need to do, and they've got 2 games against the Raptors. Hey,
Max giving Philadelphia credit. I
know, but I still think this could go 7, and once it goes 7, anything can happen. But I always seem to side with the home side once it goes 7. So I'll change my prediction now. I'll give it to Philly. I did think Toronto were going to steal a game out of those first 2. But saying that, when Toronto won the chip 3 years ago now, they lost the first 2 to Milwaukee and then reeled off 4 in a row. So Nick Nurse, a good coach, I'm sure he'll make his adjustments. And they're probably the game of the night. Celtics and the Nets. What a finish to the last game. That was crazy. How do we feel about tonight? Any different?
I think what we saw in the first game, we're going to see a very, very similar pace to the second game. I don't think there's going to be a blowout in the series whatsoever. There's so much talent on either side of things. I do see tonight ending in a Nets win. Now, I'm not saying by any means Kevin Durant played poorly in the first game, but it wasn't usual Kevin Durant. It's not who we've got accustomed to seeing in the playoffs time and time again. I think that was a bit of an abnormality. So I do see this as a Nets win, and I think this is going to be a bit more of a KD game. But what a performance. Kyrie giving a bit of everything. Yeah, giving some lips to the fans, giving the middle finger. I have no problem with that. I mean, I actually want to touch on that. I get your guys' take on it too. Personally, for me, obviously, we are not professional athletes, but I don't see any issue with an athlete talking back to the fans. There's nothing wrong with it. That's just the nature of life. When you're playing with your friends in the park, or you're playing in any kind of facility, you're gonna talk shit. That's just the nature of sports, in every sport. I don't think there's anything wrong with somebody giving a bit of lip back. Personally, what do you guys think?
I mean, as long as it's like nothing too bad, and by nothing too bad, I mean something really bad. Because like the things that athletes like they hear on a regular, it's like, why shouldn't they be able to just talk back? Like if it was me in that situation, I'd snap so many times. Like and so I don't blame Kyrie. I mean he has a lot of his sort of downfalls, but in this situation I can't really blame him.
I love it though, personally. Like when the fans get involved, obviously last year Trae Young against the Knicks, hey, who doesn't love to see that? And then the player goes off. Kyrie Irving went off the other day. Obviously, as long as it's not malice at the palace level, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, it makes for good entertainment, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to go for a Celtics win as well. But after getting through all the playoff games, we'll head into the awards. Head into the All NBA teams. As I said, so firstly, I'll reel off my All NBA first team, and then you guys.
Do you want to do 3-1 or 1-3?
Let's go 1-3 because I think it's more obvious as it goes along. Like, so I've got Luka, Booker, Giannis, Tatum, and Embiid. Have we all got that?
No.
or
No.
4 out of the 5?
4 out of 5. I mean, I'm pretty sure Connor and I are going to say the same thing. We just have Jokic instead of Embiid. I'm assuming.
But here's the thing, though. I think the NBA.
Oh, did I say Embiid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's my bad. I've got you.
Yeah.
my MVP pick anyway. I don't know why I said Embiid.
I think they will whip Embiid in at the 4. I don't know why the NBA.
Yeah, they can.
Do stuff like that.
They
Yeah, so I
can.
think my one is Luka, Devin Booker, Giannis, Embiid, and Jokic. That's my first team.
Right. Yeah, and I mean that's fair enough because this year I don't agree with it because they've never done this, but they're saying, oh yeah, Embiid and Jokic can count as forwards this year just because they know they're the 2 top MVP vote getters.
MVP voters, yeah.
Yeah, and they want to get them in. So and Luka and Booker sort of really came on towards the second half of the year. I think if it was the first half of the year, you're looking at probably Ja and Steph, maybe even DeRozan or someone like that. But in my second team, I've gone for Ja, Chris Paul, KD, DeMar DeRozan, and Joel Embiid. All right, for the second team, Orm, who have you gone for?
So my second team is I have Steph and Ja at the guards. Then I have KD, DeRozan, and then Tatum or Embiid, depending on how we call in the center forward stuff at the start. I mean, if the season can stay consistent throughout the start, Ja would have had a great argument for first team All NBA, and that's something I would have loved to have seen. Kind of upsetting we had the injuries, but it is what it is. Still had a great season, and their second team All NBA is not a bad thing to put on the resume at all.
Yeah, I mean, he missed like 25 games in the end. That's actually quite a bit, which was probably the main reason why he didn't get the first team. Steph is over CP3 is probably a debatable one. Aside from that, yeah, I've got the same as you. But taking Steph over CP3, the number 1 record, how efficient they were.
I mean, I have CP obviously as on my third team. He has to be an All NBA performer, but the reason I don't have him there is, I guess he played an integral role to their success. But the Phoenix Suns, and this is where the whole award system in the NBA, I don't like it at all. I don't like how it's judged because it's so subjective. There's no objective measures that we all consider. Like the team record thing, that is one thing, but in sometimes we don't care about team record, like when we look at All-Star, because if you're putting in ridiculous numbers, then apparently it doesn't make a difference. And it's like that's where the debate comes in. CP played an integral role, but his teammates were also amazing. He had a Defensive Player of the Year candidate on his team. We could get into that later. Obviously, had Devin Booker, who is top 5 MVP candidate. He had more pieces around him. I'm not holding that against him, but it's just the nature of the rewards. So by that reason, I have Steph.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think that's what makes it entertaining, the fact that it is objective. No, it's subjective, not objective. So you can sort of make your own mind up. But yeah, if there was like saying first you should count points per game, then assists, and it would be like everyone would have the same teams. There'd be no fun in that. So Connor, do you have anything different to either of us?
Yeah, I mean, similar reasons as all. The guards, I've gone Steph and Ja Morant. Ja Morant, incredible season. Obviously, I'm going to say that, but he did miss a lot of games, but he needs to be in the second team, in my opinion. Yeah. I got DeRozan and Tatum, and then I got Cat as the center in the second team. I think he's had a really, really good season this year. His best season so far. And to come back from obviously everything that Cat went through during the whole COVID phase and just have a season like that and get into the playoffs with the Timberwolves, I'll show a bit of love for Cat. He can get in the second team for me.
I like that, but then you don't have Tatum in your first or second team, then, right?
DeMar Tatum.
Oh, DeMar Tatum. Oh, right. So, okay.
He's
you don't have KD.
Left out KD.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. So we got a slight difference. We thought you guys preferring Steph over CP3, but aside from that, me and Orm have quite similar teams. For the third team, what have we gone for overall?
Yeah, so I've gone CP, RJ Barrett. No, I'm joking. I was about
to close my laptop, bro.
No, I got CP, Trae Young, hate Trae Young, but he's an All NBA performer. Then I've got LeBron, even with the games he missed. And then I've got Pascal Siakam. I think Pascal's season got under the radar. He wasn't an All-Star, but I need to show him some love to get him where they are right now. I don't think anybody had the Raptors where they are right now. So I've got Pascal, then Cat, the final center.
So you're taking Pascal Siakam over Jimmy Butler?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, again,
who's impacted winning more?
But that's what I was going to say. This is what I was going to say. It comes down to the whole CP Steph thing again, but the pieces around. Like, I'm not saying that Toronto.
Yeah, but that's such a huge like points per game difference, and such a huge like.
But look at the expectations going into the season. I don't know anybody who would have said Miami is not likely to make the playoffs. Everybody knew the Miami have the talent to make the playoffs, but there were genuine question marks around the Raptors. Not many people saw the Raptors having the season they had. Maybe you play in contender, but I don't think at the start of the season anybody saw the Raptors doing what they were doing. I think that needs to be awarded.
I mean, they were the 5th seed and like a couple of games away from being like the 9th seed. I don't know. Like if they lost 2 more games, they would have been like down playing 2 games just to get in the playoffs. As well as that. I don't know, Matt. I don't know. Maybe it's my bias coming through. But I think for the number 1 seed in the East, the number 3 record in the NBA, you've got to find a way to get one Miami player in there. And Jimmy Butler's the obvious candidate. But I in my second, so I of course you got to have Curry. I think.
Yeah.
I wanted to go Trae Young, but I'm going to change that to Donovan Mitchell. Whilst Donovan isn't the greatest defender, over the last couple of games, you look at how Trae Young defends, and he might be the worst defender in the NBA. Maybe it's not all his fault, but it's because of his size. He will get picked on so much. And of course, you've got Cat. Trae also led the league in turnovers, more than Russell Westbrook.
I went under the radar. Jeez, I didn't know that.
And he played less games than Russell Westbrook. I only heard that today.
Damn.
And so for all the fun that we make of Russell Westbrook, there's someone else leading the turnover charts. So I've gone for Donovan Mitchell. I know the Jazz always have a lot of sort of controversy surrounding them, but I think he deserves some love. Connor, have you gone much different to us?
Yeah, I got CP3, and I did choose Mitchell over Trae Young at the guards as well. I agree with everything you just said. I got Jimmy Buckets and LeBron at the forward positions, and I got Gobert as a center. And before you say, "Oh, you left KD at all 3 teams," KD can go fuck himself for all I know. He can be as great as he wants. I just want to go on a bit of a tangent here about KD quickly. Kevin Durant in that season, we all know what he did. 73-9, got that Golden State Warriors team. 73-9, and he went and he joined that team, being the best player in the league. He joined that team. You taking the piss. I feel like every NBA fan just kind of forgets it because that Warriors team, they played such good basketball. That was such a dark time for basketball. People don't realize how bad that actually was. Those few seasons where KD was there, the league was done before it started. There was no point watching the league. You had LeBron working his ass off in the East for the Cavs, getting to the finals every single season. And then you knew what was going to happen in the finals. There was no fun in watching it. I get enough of that in football. I know the outcome of the season before it started. Kevin Durant, for what he did back then, going to that super team after blowing the 3-1 league to the same team, he can go fuck himself for the rest of his career. He could have been in conversations. He could have been in serious conversations had he have not done that and he had won stuff the right way. What he did, those two rings can fault themselves. KD can fault themselves. Brooklyn can fault themselves. And that Golden State team back then with KD can fault themselves.
I'll let you take the reins.
All right, so I'm gonna go in two parts. One, the Golden State team generally. It's what KD did has put like an asterisk on how amazing that team is, like generationally, and it is upsetting because if you look at about 2014 through 2020 run, that's 6 years. They're arguably the most dominant. That's the most dominant. Well, actually, no, the Bulls were more dominant, but it's in that conversation. the way they played the game and the way that they changed the way that basketball is played. I mean, that's the fact. They changed the way that a sport is played. That's incredible. But on the KD note, I don't think anybody would say it didn't leave an asterisk on his like legacy. I mean, I know a few people and like journalists like to, but they're obviously just sucking up to him because that just cannot objectively be true. If Shaq joined Jordan in the 90s, we would not be having the same conversations about Shaq with me. It's the same thing. But what I would say about KD is, given his current team now with the Nets, I know Ben Simmons, let's assume that Ben Simmons comes back as what he was before in the playoffs, which isn't a stellar player, not an all-star kind of a player. If he then goes and wins, let's say, 2 more rings with the Nets, does that cancel out the 2 he won in Golden State for you?
Sorry, repeat that.
So if he wins 2 more rings with the Nets, with this current Nets team, does that kind of cancel out the 2 rings he won with the Golden State Warriors, and it kind of puts him back on that top tier conversation again?
Here's the thing, 100%, I would say yes, but I'd put my life on the line that he will not win 2 rings with the Brooklyn Nets, because he can't do it. And he's got 3 future Hall of Famers on his team. He can't. He's proven it. He's proven that he can't. Don't get me wrong. I'm not an idiot. I know Kevin Durant is a fantastic player, but he is a bitch in this league. He's a parasite sometimes. And then he says, "Oh, I pretend he doesn't care." And then he sits on his little burner accounts like, "Oh no, KD's to go. KD's to go." Honestly, he's honestly such a little. And he could have been something great at OKC with him and Westbrook. He could have stayed. He could have.
Won't win anything with Westbrook.
Not winning anything.
Either way, if fair enough, if you wanted to leave Westbrook, don't join the team that's just gone 73-9, and also just sent you home crying that previous postseason. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, to be fair, even with moving to Brooklyn, I think he knows what he was doing. Like, he moved to a team with like a good young core: Jarrett Allen, Karis LeVert. Okay, D'Angelo Russell was in the sign and trade for him
At the time, yeah.
Yeah, but there was still like a few good pieces there that he's
Dinwiddie.
Yeah, Dinwiddie, and players that he's just ended up going and flipping for James Harden and now Ben Simmons and a load more players.
Don't get me wrong, if he does win this championship, if Ben Simmons come back and he wins that championship, he could continue to fuck himself, because that won't count either in my books.
One more thing on the whole KD stuff. This is coming as a Knicks fan. The whole narrative when KD everybody knew he was going to leave Golden State halfway through that year. And the main talk was obviously the Knicks. KD and Kyrie going to the Knicks. The Knicks were going to have a super team. The Knicks were going to be great. But yep, he literally went across the bridge and went to fucking Brooklyn. And that is what it is. But if he fails to deliver a ring to Brooklyn, I think that is one of just like the biggest W's the Knicks are ever going to receive, because it's just like, you know what, we didn't get them, but at least they didn't get anything either. So as a Knicks fan and other Knicks fans, I know we feel the same way, but we're actively rooting against them just to win, because anything just to prove that we can get something right by not getting the players we wanted to get.
New York Knicks championship banner, Brooklyn Nets didn't win a ring.
So I think we'll move on. Onto the rookie teams now. We'll probably gloss over this a little bit, because it's not. I think more what we're interested with the rookies is the actual Rookie of the Year race. Yeah. So do you guys all have Cade Cunningham?
Yes.
Well, I'm guessing the top 3 will all be in there: Cade, Scotty, and Mobley, and then the other 2 I've gone for are Jalen Green and Franz Wagner.
I've got the same,
Yeah, Connor, who do you have?
I got Franz Wagner as well, but I've given Josh Giddey, because I think Josh Giddey had a very good rookie season. I had a few of the names in mind, but I had for that 5th spot, but I gave it to Giddey. He had a great season. I had a lot of triple doubles, and he actually surprised me being as good as he was in the end.
The only thing with Josh Giddey, whilst he like missed the last 15 or 20 games, Jalen Green went on an absolute tear. I think he was scoring like 25 plus for like 10 straight games or so. If he could have carried that on like at least for half of the year, he could have easily been in the Rookie of the Year conversation. But yeah, unfortunately he wasn't. But that was enough to get him in the first team for me. Second team, I've got Giddey, Davion Mitchell, Herb Jones, Jonathan Kuminga, and Alperen Sengun. Who have you guys gone for?
I have the same team.
Exactly the same.
I have the same team. I feel like the rookie teams were just kind of not cut and dry,
Yeah.
but talent was very lopsided. I mean, we knew who was who
Yeah.
kind of early on in the year.
There was a couple of guys like Dasumu and Bones
Yeah.
Highland who just missed out on mine.
Yeah.
But Connor, what about you?
Well, slightly different. Obviously, Jalen Green didn't make my first team, so he made my second team. Obviously,
Yeah.
I got Sengun because he had a very solid season as
Yeah.
well. And then I put Bones Highland in mine. I think Bones Highland, he's a very decent player. Also, he's absolutely rapid. I really enjoy watching him play as well. And then I have got Herb Jones, and then I've got one of the more underrated rookies of the season. Maybe being biased, but Z Will.
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
I've got him in. Obviously, he was starting for a team that finished in the second seed for a while this season, and production wasn't that bad. I went for him in the second seed. I could be being a bit biased, but I can't leave out my boys.
No, he was pretty. He was hitting that corner three. He's a drive threat. From what I've seen, he's not a bad defender. So yeah, I think that's fair enough. Like him and Kuminga, I'd say Kuminga's got a bigger upside just because of his pure athleticism. But the way they played this year, it's sort of you could choose either really. I also went for Davion Mitchell over Bones Highland because Davion, no one really watches Sacramento, and Davion Mitchell would always guard the opposition's best players as a rookie. Like, that's such a good task to step up on. And once Fox went out the lineup, Sabonis went out of the lineup, he was like their main guy. He was getting 20 points, sometimes 10 assists. And he stepped up over the last month or so, so that got him that second spot for me. But as I said, we're not really going to stay on the all rookie topic too long. If we head over to maybe one of the tougher ones to grade, is the all defensive teams. I'll start with you guys. What have you guys started? Who's in your first team?
You say me?
Well, either of you, yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, I'll go for my first team. I mean, I feel like the usual suspects: Marcus Smart, Mikal Bridges, because they were depoy candidates. I've got Giannis in there. I've got Bam. I've been calling Bam on forward, so I've got Bam in there, and then Rudy at the center.
Okay, Connor, I imagine yours is different.
Only slightly. I've got Smart and I've got Smart, Mikal Bridges, Giannis. Go back to the center, but instead of Bam, I've gone for Jaren. I think Jaren is literally neck and neck between Jaren and Bam. I genuinely think Jaren and Bam are like top 5 defenders in the league, both of them. But I've just edged it to Jaren because I think he leads the lead in blocks. I think he's a very good defender, but it could have gone either way.
Yeah, I don't think Giannis should be in there really. I had Jaren over Giannis. And then obviously the other 4 we've all got the same. But Bam 4th in defensive player vote, so I think I'm warranted in putting him there. That's not just my bias. It's not just my bias being there. Well, the second team, I've got one of my favorite players. I've got his jersey, DeJounte Murray. Criminally underrated all the time. Matisse Thybulle, he's a bit of a gambler on the court. Draymond Green, Giannis, and Robert Williams. Do you guys have much difference there?
Well, I didn't have Jaren Jackson in my first team, so yeah, I got Jaren Jackson in the second team. Got Thybulle, and then I got DeJounte Murray again. It's criminally underrated, a fantasy monster. But then I had Fred VanVleet in there as well.
All right.
Yeah, I mean. He's I can't think of the word, like persnickety maybe. He's a pest. He's a pest. The way he plays defense.
He's a pest.
Yeah, especially being such a good offensive player as well. To be able to be that good defensively as well, it's a real good thing for the Raptors to have. What about you, Connor?
I've gone for Bam because he didn't make my first team. Rob Will because he's a quality defender. Got Matisse and Draymond, but instead I went for Drew Holiday. I think Drew Holiday's a very. If we've gone to any of these players that you guys have been saying, I think Drew Holiday's an excellent defender.
I agree. It was between Drew and DeJounte Murray. So overall, we've got fairly similar all defensive teams.
I just wanted to just go on one quick side note here. A name we all mentioned, Robert Williams in the second team. I just want to speak about how important Robert Williams is to the Celtics quickly. because we spoke about the Nets Celtics series earlier on, but we didn't mention Robert Williams in that. We spoke about Ben Simmons potentially coming back. We didn't know about Robert Williams coming back. Robert Williams is so important to the Celtics. I mean, there is a genuine argument that he is in the first team or defensive conversation. That's not an unreasonable thing to say. He's an excellent defender, obviously an inside threat. I feel like if Robert Williams were playing this game, playing in this series, sorry, this series would be way more lopsided. We're talking about Celtics in 6.
Yeah, I mean, he can move his feet as well, like so well. And I'm gonna piggyback on that point for the start of the defensive player. Like, so it's already been announced. Marcus Smart has won. I think it was Bridges in second, Gobert third, Bam fourth, and I think it's an absolute disgrace. I think it's one of the worst. I think it's one of the worst like media votes ever. Okay, before Robert Williams got injured, Marcus Smart was a 40-1 odds to win the Defensive Player of the Year. When Robert Williams got injured, that team became average defensively. Okay, they were top throughout the year, but they were average defensively. Marcus Smart has 5 good defenders around him. Bam Adebayo is playing with Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero. Like that's who he has to protect. Like, you look at Mikal Bridges. Devin Booker isn't the greatest defender. Even Ayton isn't the greatest defender. Like Rudy, he's got these bums he has to protect in the perimeter. And I can't believe Marcus Smart has won this. I'm absolutely fuming. I think the media legit just wanted to give it to a Boston player. I think as soon as Robert Williams were out, they were like, who's the next best guy on the best defensive team? That's not how it works. They've got legit 5 good defenders. Who have they got coming off the bench? Derek White, another good defender. White, It's stupid. They're just a good defensive team. That's my rant over. But
yeah, I mean, on the notes we've done for this podcast when we did the Depoy one, I wrote Marcus Smart, and the next I guess no fucking clue, because we all watch NBA very fucking regularly. I mean, every single fucking day. Who the fuck was talking about Marcus Smart for Depoy other than like 6 weeks ago? Like, what the fuck? I just don't remember anybody mentioning his fucking name once. He's not a bad defender. Like, no, he's not a bad defender. But it's kind of like, back in the day, not I say back in the day, but a few years ago, but the MVP would just go to the best player on the best team because they just couldn't be asked to make a more in-depth argument. It's like, well, Rob Will's injured. He's the fucking next man up. Obviously it's done, but I think it was Bridges' award to win. I think he's done an amazing job for the Phoenix Suns, and just kind of covers the little gaps in their rotation, in their system to keep them up at that number 1 spot.
I think Robert Williams should have got more votes than Marcus Smart. I'm gonna say I think Bam should have won it, but that's just there's no one in the NBA that he can't guard. I mean, in this playoffs, I think he's had like 2 or 3 field goals scored against him altogether. He has the most switches in the NBA. He has the least points per switch possession. There's no one he can't guard. I am fuming. I'm fuming, man. I genuinely think it's one of the worst calls I've seen in an NBA vote in ages. And you think all the casual vote, you think of a Stephen A. Smith or a Skip Bayless, they're just gonna go with whoever's name is on the top, on the end of their tongue at the time, like whoever's name is in the media at the time. They're just gonna reel that off. It's maybe not with an MVP or a different or an All NBA team, but whoever's been at the top of the discussion at the time, they're just going to say that name for defensive player because it is an opinion based award, but there's got to be more thought into it than the best remaining defender on the best defensive team. It's crazy to me. Connor, I'm guessing you're going to say, Smart deserved that completely.
No. I don't think he deserves as much criticism as he's just been. But I don't think he should have won. I think personally, I thought it was between Bam and Jaren, and I'm surprised Jaren's name was being mentioned a lot more in these conversations. Personally, I would have given it to Bam as well. But Bam and Jaren Jackson Jr. have been.
You just had Bam in the second team all defense.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you just said it was second team all defensive. You had Giannis and Jaren in the first team.
Oh no, I know I had Smart. I was going to put Bam in for Smart, but Smart had already won it. So
right. Okay.
Obviously, we could have a Marc Gasol incident where he won the defensive player of the year, didn't make any defensive teams. I would have given it to Bam just over Jaren, but I don't know. I really did want to give it to Jaren, but I didn't want to be seen as the biased Grizzlies fan again. But
I don't think you would be to say that.
It's definitely a case for Jaren, 100%.
Yeah.
Obviously, leading the lead in blocks, and you can see him in the playoffs this year as well against Minnesota. He's been class defensively so far. If you're going up against Jaren, you're usually really not scoring, unless you're throwing it down on him like Cat did the other day. But we'll forget that happened. But I thought it was between Jaren and Bam. But I was surprised Marcus Smart won it. Do I think he deserved this much hate as you two just gave him? No, but I was surprised. I was surprised as you guys.
Yeah. I think we've had enough on the defensive player of the year. There's nothing we could do.
I'm so surprised we spoke about it for this long, to be honest.
Yeah. We can't change anyone's minds now. It's already done. On to the most improved player. I think this is probably maybe the closest race alongside the MVP. I've gone for Ja because I think the leap from star to MVP candidate is the hardest leap to take in the NBA. Going from like a 15 point per game or a 10 point per game role player into a 18 point per game like good starter, I don't think that's a particularly hard jump in relativity. But I think Ja, out of all three candidates, his numbers have moved the highest. The only criticism to him would be how well Memphis performed without him. But I don't think that's much of a discussion really. So I've gone for Ja. How about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna do mine quick because I know Connor's got a lot to say about Ja. He's a Grizzlies fan, but I had Ja as well. I mean, like you're saying, it's so hard to get 1% better when you're already at such an elite level. For LeBron, for example, to get 1% better, he has to do something which is like ridiculous. Steph to shoot 1% better from free is insane, and Ja was already an excellent player. And if he would have stayed at that level for his whole career, that's an amazing player. But no, he's taking his level up, and now the future for ceiling for Ja, no one even knows what his ceiling can be. But I know Connor's going to go on about it. But yeah, I had Ja.
No, yeah, I'm happy you two have Ja because I didn't really want to get into any fights right now. No, but don't get me wrong, Garland's one of my favorite players to watch, and DeJounte Murray's an incredible player. But this is Ja Morant's award. He's the first award that we're going to win in a while, obviously. But yeah, he's definitely the most improved player. Last year he was. Don't get me wrong, he was great. Led us to the playoffs, led us into the play, and then led us in that game against the Warriors. And then this year, I know we've been very good without him, but that's because of players like Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond Bane. He can't help having decent pieces around him. He's made that improvement this year. And I remember watching the draft lottery a few years ago and thinking, like, it was obviously it was a Zion draft, or who's going to get Zion, who's going to get Zion. And I remember watching the lottery, like, oh my God, like we're one pick away. Then obviously we get the second pick. And I'm like, oh my God, we're that close to Zion. And all I was thinking after that was, oh, who are we going to get? We're going to get Ja, we're going to get RJ Barrett. Like, which way is it going to go? Never in a million years did I think I'll be sitting here, 3 years later? We're the second seed because of the second pick that year. We picked Ja Morant out of Murray State, who wasn't even high up on the boards that year till the very end. And I'd never in a million years that I think he'd be as good as he is. Honestly, as a Grizzlies fan, I had nothing for years. I had nothing to shout about for years. I stayed up on school nights to watch us lose to Charlotte by 60 points. That actually happened once. And then all of a sudden, we get this kid called Ja Morant, and he just takes us to some next level. And by the looks of it, we're going to win our first playoff series since I started being a fan. I can't thank Ja Morant enough. And he's going to win the most improved player this year. I think he's got an MVP in him before his career ends. And
without a doubt.
Yeah,
fingers crossed he has a ring in him before his career over. And I pray to God it's for the Memphis Grizzlies, because that would be amazing.
Yeah, the way he's talked about Memphis, and I don't know the connection that he seems to have with Memphis. I don't know why. I just don't see him like leaving and betraying
Yeah.
that franchise.
No,
I don't
yeah.
know what it is. You never know. He could turn around like after 2 years of bad results and say, nah, I need to go somewhere where I can really win a title. But no, it just doesn't seem to me like he'd want to leave. Yeah.
That's
Oh, go on.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, I liken Ja Morant's passion for Memphis to a Steph Curry's Golden State or a Dame Lillard's to Portland. Like, they're with that team through and through. Steph's start of his career with Golden State was not pretty, but he's loyal to the team, even because his team was loyal to him. I know the Memphis front office are going to show him love because Ja has already done so much for his team and so much for the city. And as a Knicks fan, it just breaks my heart because it's another moment where we're one pick away from having a completely different outcome. Yeah, we're one pick away from Steph Curry. We're going to be one pick away from Ja Morant. It just breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. I'm just so tired of it. I just want to be happy and just win one series. I mean, for 10 years of my life, I have watched the New York Knicks. I have not been happy in May ever because we're never fucking here. We're never here, man. I can't be asked. I can't be asked.
Nah, yeah, the next time will come, man.
Man said.
Hey, I don't have to worry about you guys. You had your one fun year during the injury crisis.
That's just so
Yeah. Put it in the banners. We finished as the 5th seed or whatever it was.
Well, won one playoff.
Four seed.
Won one playoff game.
Trae Young's playground.
Okay, on to the sixth man of the year. I think we've all got Tyler Hero probably. I think if you don't, I think like I've got a word for the Cavs fans who want to say Kevin Love is the sixth man of the year, and like you're crazy. You're crazy. I think he's at 14 points a game. Tyler Hero's at almost 21. More assists. Okay, he's had more minutes, but he's even more efficient than Kevin Love. And I mean, I think I don't know if you guys know John Hollinger, but he's the guy who always goes on about PER for everything. He created the stat, and now he's given that as a reason to vote for Tyler Hero. I think Tyler Hero would have been unanimous sixth man of the year if it wasn't for this fucking guy. Like, who cares about your fucking VORP pie stat? Like, it's fucking they bring out some random shit just to say, oh yeah, he's got 0.1 better than Hero. Hero's just been sensational off the bench, and it should be a unanimous sixth man of the year, but he's not because of this fucking goon. That's all I had to say.
No argument. I completely agree.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody with half a fucking brain is going to say anything other than Tyler Hero.
This is coming from the man who gave Chandler Parsons $100 million contract for the Memphis Grizzlies.
Why have you thought that one up?
He did. Chandler Parsons, who halfway through that contract couldn't get a game. So yeah, you know how I feel about that guy. He's very, very anti Miami Heat. So on to probably more of a discussion, but I'm guessing we might still have the same result. Rookie of the year, who have you guys gone for?
I've gone for Scotty Barnes.
Yeah, I have too.
I've gone for Kate Cunningham.
Right, okay. Explain.
Let's say yeah.
I just think, obviously, he's averaging 17.4, 5.6, 5.5. That's very, very solid for a rookie season. I think at the start of the season, it sometimes does happen with first picks. They don't. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't playing well, but every little thing he did was getting scrutinized. Whereas Jalen Green, who was the second pick, just because he doesn't have the title of the first pick in the NBA draft, Jalen Green was probably doing similar things, and no one was really talking about Jalen Green. Whereas Kate Cunningham, everyone was on his back, constantly on his back. The Detroit Pistons are not a very good team, but towards the end of the season, they showed some life. Showed that they do have some decent young players, and if they can get a decent pick in the next draft, then who knows? Maybe they'll have a decent little team. But no, Kate Cunningham, don't get me wrong, Mobley, Barnes, either of them can win it. I think Evan Mobley's a quality player, but Kate Cunningham, I think he's like already kind of the best player on that. Obviously, Jeremy Grant, but I think Kate Cunningham is going to be the future of the Detroit Pistons, whereas Evan Mobley has like a lot better teammates around him. Scotty Barnes has a lot better teammates around him. I feel like Kate Cunningham like carried the load on his shoulders quite a lot this season and overcame a lot of criticism at the start. So I've gone for Kate Cunningham to win Rookie of the Year.
I really wanted to pick Kate. I love his game. I actually do agree. I think he'll be the best player at this draft. He doesn't play too dissimilar to Luka. He's maybe not got the same shot creation, but he's got the same sort of size, the same sort of build. Can make plays, can rebound well. Yeah, I really like Cade, but everywhere I look statistically, it was Scotty Barnes. It like every I know I just banged on about advanced stats, but Scott, like that's when you're dominating, like that's when you're winning like 6 out of 10 stats. Scotty Barnes was top for the rookies out in like 9 out of 10 of the advanced stats, and there's a reason. And he was really efficient. He got his 3-point shot going throughout the year. Sorry, like further throughout the year. Cade missed a little bit of maybe a little bit of time at the start as well. Evan Mobley, I think he got a few good looks because of his point guard. But yes, Scotty Barnes as well was playing in probably the best team. That's why his efficiency was so high. But yeah, everywhere I looked, I couldn't get away from the fact that Scotty Barnes is probably the rookie of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to kind of piggyback off that. I mean, similar reasons. It's hard to argue with the statistical dominance Scotty Barnes has performed. Plus, he contributed to wins. He contributes to the wins on on a good team. I mean, that's not to say that the Cavs are like bad by any means, or I mean, okay, Detroit is shit. That's to say how it is. But I mean, they're kind of a top pool of talent. Evan Mobley has such a gigantic upside. So does Cade, and I completely agree with you, Max. I do think Cade will end up being the best player from this draft. And ironically, I think Scotty will end up worse than Mobley and Cade.
Worse out of the three, yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of like how Malcolm Brogdon won Rookie of the Year when he was on the books. It's one of them ones where like you can't hold it against him by his teammates good because he wasn't bad. He helped them win, and for that reason, I have to give him the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I find it really weird as well because I don't think Scotty Barnes started in college. I think he came off the bench. So to then be like the 4th pick in the draft ahead of Jalen Suggs, where everyone thought Toronto was going to select Jalen Suggs, and then to probably be like the best performing player this year. I was so surprised because I thought he was going to be more of a project, like a Kuminga or someone. So fair play to Scotty Barnes for me. I don't think it's particularly close. I want it to be close because I said I like Cade's game, but I don't think it's particularly close. On to the penultimate award that we're going to look at, the Coach of the Year. I think it's fairly cut and dry. You might think I'm going to pick Spo. I'm not. I think Monty Williams is the fair choice here. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm with you on Monty Williams too. I mean, the Suns are the best team in the NBA. It's not by a little bit. It's by a lot of it.
Yeah.
Regular season wise, and I mean, he's done everything you want a coach to do. They play a good brand of basketball. They have a good defense, an excellent offense. Now, of course, Chris Paul has a role with that, but they have the relationship Monty Williams has built with Chris Paul and Devin Booker. You love to see it because you can really translate it on the court. There's such a trust and continuity there. And this little bit of a tangent, but that's something where you can see the complete polar opposite in the Brooklyn Nets, where there seems to be no, I mean, obviously there must be some level of respect, but the type of relationship you have with Monty Williams and a Chris Paul, you don't have anything like that with Kyrie and a Steve Nash. And Kyrie has openly said, we don't need a coach before.
Yeah.
And it just blows my mind. I mean,
I think that says more about Kyrie. I think that says more about Kyrie.
I don't want to keep going down this rabbit hole, but yeah, I mean, Monty Williams did an excellent job. He deserves coach of the year.
Connor?
I'm not being a dick riding Grizzlies fan, but just hear me out. Don't get me wrong, Monty Williams, 64 wins, Phoenix Suns, best team in the NBA in my opinion. You know, I think they're going to win it all. But Taylor Jenkins, when we hired him, I was like, why are we hiring an assistant manager? Like, is he the man? We've just got Ja. Is this going to really work out? Taylor Jenkins, from last year to this year, so we were a 9th seed last year, and that was without Jaren, and that was already punching a bit above than I thought we were going to, and then we made the playoffs. And this year, take from the 9th seed to the 2nd seed, whereas Phoenix only went from the 2nd to the 1st seed. But that's not it, because it's the games without Ja. Ja's a star player, and everyone says, "Oh, how come the Grizzlies are so good without Ja?" It's because we've got a quality head coach. Taylor Jenkins is a quality head coach. He knows what to say. He knows how to play these players. He gets the best out of players like Jaren Jackson Jr. Desmond Bane, he's only been in the year for 2 years, and he's got the absolute best out of him. And then he can do it with rookies, as obviously I just said, Bane, Zion Williams this year, he's got the best out of him. And then the fact that we go so deep is testament to Taylor Jenkins. He gets these players, he gets them playing. He doesn't like Tyus Jones is a backup, and he's had a very good season himself. When Jar's out, Tyus Jones steps up. Tyus Jones doesn't mind being that second guy, and that's all down to good coaching. And I think Taylor Jenkins deserves to win Coach of the Year this year. I do. Monty Williams, don't get me wrong, he'll probably win it, and I have no qualms with Monty Williams winning it because he's a fantastic coach. But I'm going to go with Taylor Jenkins just from the step up we have made from last season to this season and how good we've been without our star player this season. I'm going to give Taylor Jenkins Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I had Taylor Jenkins second. I do think he'll get second. The one counterpoint I'll raise is if we're talking about like how many games players have missed, star players and stuff, and if that's a big factor, I think Spo goes to number one in that sense, because Jimmy, Bam, Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero all missed. Like I think Tyler's missed the least with about 15 games. Kyle Lowry 20, Jimmy 25, Bam 25. So I think it's like if we're going off that, I think and who's sort of developing the most, like, well, the most. Miami have like 9 or 10 undrafted players, so we're developing these guys from nothing. But saying that, I did have Taylor Jenkins second because what he's done compared to last year, I think is great. But I think one thing we have to raise with Monty is, I was just thinking this, off the last 4 or 5 finals losers, not many have bounced back so strongly. Like Phoenix have got better. You think Miami last year were worse. Okay, it was a crazy season. Who was before that? Golden State. Okay, they had all their injuries, but they were worse. Cleveland the year above, the year before.
Prior, yeah.
They lost LeBron James, but still they were nowhere near the side, of course. So I think something like that can't be taken lightly.
Just to piggyback off what you said there about, I mean, we mentioned it with like, okay, Cleveland, LeBron left, yeah, but I mean, yes, that's a factor why they went a lot worse, but that's not abnormal for a star player to leave once you get to the top and you realize, oh, maybe it's just not going to work out, and to pack it in. Phoenix has stayed consistent. They've actually stuck with the plan. And if you actually look back at some of these final losers, there's not many times when they've done that. Through the Cleveland series, their teams drastically changed each year they went to the finals. And then you have Toronto, they lost Kawhi. Well, they weren't, but Kawhi still left. But but there's been drastic changes in the actual formation of the teams, often when a team loses. But that speaks to how much the Phoenix Suns, the head office, the whole team trust what the system Monty Williams has put into place, and it's gone out there. They've stayed consistent. They have that experience, and they've shown why he is the coach of the year and why they're the best team in the regular season of basketball this year.
Yeah, and I'm going to sort of go out on a limb a little bit. I really don't think Phoenix have that great of a squad. I think they've got two great guards. Mikal Bridges, who's a great defender. I don't really think they've got much else. Like in terms of shot create, they've got 2 shot creators in their team, really. Okay, you got Campaign, but that he was like out the league a few years ago and has had sort of resurgence under Monty Williams. So you could still say with what he's got, he's still doing a great job. So yeah, I think me and I'm going for Monty Williams. Connor, you go for Taylor Jenkins, which I think is fair enough. I've got him second as well. On to a race that I think's very close between 2 guys. Not the 2 guys that you might think, though. Who do you guys have winning the MVP?
Do you want to go first, Connor?
I'll go. Why not? I've got Nikola Jokic going back to back. I think that without him, we're going by most valuable player. without him, Denver are really, really in the mud without him. Honestly, you can see it in this year's playoffs. He's just by far and away the best team. You take Jokic out of that team and just replace him with a normal NBA center. God knows, they'll probably come in last in the West. Honestly, their team is awful. And Jokic, obviously, I know Max doesn't like the PER stat, but obviously that's been spoke about quite a lot with the MVP
No,
race.
I like Pierre. I've got it written down. I just don't like it as the main
Okay.
sort of focus of
Oh,
the
fair enough.
discussion.
Yeah, fair enough. I think the thing is with Jokic, he doesn't really care so much about like awards and all this. Whereas you got Embiid saying, "Oh, everyone's against me. That doesn't work. That genuinely doesn't work." Don't get me wrong. Embiid's had a fantastic season. Giannis has had a fantastic season. I think Jokic is just that tiny bit more valuable to their teams. Don't get me wrong. Without Embiid, Philly nowhere. Without Giannis, Bucks nowhere. But without Jokic, the Nuggets are genuinely one of the worst teams in the league, and I truly believe that. So I think Jokic is going to go back to back. And
Well, I'm guessing you agree.
Yes, yes. But see, right, I do think it's a Jokic MVP. He, like Connor said, if you take Jokic off that team, they're the worst team in the NBA. But what I want to mainly speak about on this MVP topic is I hate the way that MVP is done in the NBA. It doesn't make sense because the consistent discussion of is MVP the best player or most valuable player happens all the time. Every single year we have this discussion, and it does tarnish legacies. If you look at someone like LeBron deserves more MVPs because he has been the best player for so long. I don't think Jokic is the best player in basketball. I think that's Giannis. And I don't actually think, I maybe Max is what you're actually going to say. I don't think it's between Jokic and Embiid. I think it's between Jokic and Giannis.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, after Harden joined the Sixers, naturally, just because they have another star player, his production is going to go slightly down. It wasn't too much down. But Giannis has played at an elite level. Like, this is going to be maybe a bit outlandish to say, but if he continues at this trajectory at the rate he's going at, we're talking about GOAT potential, like top 1 to 3 of all time. The level he plays, where he's genuinely in the discussion for best offensive and defensive players. He has he's not scared of anything. He doesn't mind getting fouled at the end of games. He'll take a big shot if he needs to take a big shot. I think for me, it was between Giannis and Jokic, but almost for polar opposites reasons, because Giannis is just so fucking good, but Jokic is like, without him, they're nothing. But I had that without him is nothing outweighed how more good Giannis has gotten. So I have Jokic as the MVP.
I did have Jokic as my MVP, but I was thinking about it this afternoon, just whilst I was editing, and I was like, is he really the most valuable player though? Like,
yes.
The PERs, Jokic has got the highest ever this year. In second place is Giannis from this year. On the defensive end, like I don't think we're emphasizing the difference, like how much of a difference there is. Giannis can he can guard anyone still. Maybe not a Trey or a Steph like running around screens or whatever, but 9 out of 10 players in the league he can guard. But I'm just looking at the stats still, and it's like it's neck and neck. I don't think Joel Embiid's in the discussion. Also, I don't like Embiid's attitude. I like just in general and how he plays the game. I don't like the other two are much more like pure in the way that they play basketball. Jokic, I don't particularly like his attitude either. You saw him get tossed out the other day. He's had so many incidents now where you think if he like flicks a switch, he can be like nasty, like a nasty. I don't think this is like taken away from his MVP claim. It's just a point I wanted to make. And Giannis is just a likable guy. Who doesn't like Giannis, man? The only thing with Giannis is maybe he gets a little bit of a beneficial whistle, but because like the way that he's so it just barrages into the paint. Maybe sometimes he gets a whistle that he shouldn't have, that maybe should be called an offensive foul. I've seen that a few times, but on the whole, it's going to even out. And at 30, 12, and 6 compared to 27, 14, and 8, I'm going to take the one who's playing better defense and the one who ended up with the better record as well. I know you could say the supporting cast, but the way that Jokic has played in the regular season, he's doubled and he could just pass it out and get a wide open assist. I'm gonna take Giannis. I'm gonna take Giannis, and I don't know why. It was neck and neck, but I really want to take Giannis. So
but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying about the better versus valuable thing. I know what you're saying about Giannis' defense and how incredible it really is, but the simple facts are, if Giannis is not on that team and Thanasis Antetokounmpo is starting instead of him, the Bucks are still in the playoffs. They still have an All-Star.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
You don't think so?
No.
I that's how highly I think of Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday. But like, if you have Aaron,
I don't think they have too much size. Like, and Giannis is the hub of their offense, pretty much. Just like, to be fair, just like the other two. And then he's also the hub of their defense, because he will go. I'm thinking last year in the playoffs, he completely shut down Jimmy Butler. I know we talk about Jimmy having a terrible playoffs, but that was because of Giannis. What about in the finals? He didn't really have. He did. He abused Ayton, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, this is last year, but those are specific sort of longer matchups where you could talk about who he's matched up with. But no, I think he's the most effective player this year, just because what he does on both ends. Denver weren't a good defensive side. You think if they had maybe if they rolled out JaMychal Green all year, who was their backup center for most of the year, who's not a bad defender, I reckon they're a better defensive side than they are without Jokic. But obviously the offense is going to drop off. So I really respect how good Jokic has been, but I'm going to go for Giannis.
Fair enough. I just think Jokic carrying that bag of shit to 50 wins, it can't go unnoticed.
Well, it's 48, wasn't it?
Well, okay.
Fair enough. But Jokic dragging that team to 48 wins, that bag of garbage that's at the Denver Nuggets right now. It's got to get some recognition. Yeah,
it does. I think it will, because I think he will win the MVP. But I think Giannis should win the MVP. So I think that'll be that. We've covered pretty much.
I have one last thing I want to say. I want to hear your guys' opinion on this too. I know this idea has been floated around amongst NBA fans for a while. This whole everything we spoke about this podcast with the awards, all NBA, all defensive. The nature of basketball is what we have with the play-in tournament now. You have 10 teams from either side who go into the playoffs. So that's 20 teams there, right? And then finishes around June. You're talking about 2-3 months of extra basketball, which is playoff basketball. In my opinion, I think that the playoffs should count for overall awards. I don't think it makes sense for it not to count, since there is a significant chunk of time, which is the playoffs. It is more meaningful basketball. And I'm not saying that all players take games off, but the nature of the game is you cannot go 100% 82 games a year without getting hurt. Right, you're increasing the chance of injury. It's not a smart way to play the game. I think due to the way that basketball is formed, the length of the season, I have never ever liked why we only judge it by the regular season. I just think it's so stupid. Like, you can look at a playoff run. Let's look at like Donovan Mitchell a couple of years ago when him and Jamal getting back and forth in that incredible series, right? That meant nothing to anything else, in the regular season of what he's done. But I think it does mean something, because if you look at these players, you don't have these hot runs in the first and second round. They might not get any of the love or recognition they deserve because they don't make it to the finals. But then if they're kind of just average in the regular season, then they're not getting anything. But they are obviously have a talent, and they deserve the respect of an All NBA award. So a player what made me think of this first was Klay Thompson, where he was kind of like, would not coast because of just the teammates he had, would be a good player, but then he would be a great player in the playoffs but he would never make All NBA. He would never make All Defensive. But that's when you saw how great Klay Thompson was when he's defending, when he's switching on LeBron occasionally, he's switching on all these great players. But he never got that love, and I feel like it really it hurts a lot of these players' legacies.
Yeah, the only problem is what awards would you do it for?
All of them.
So what about Rookie of the Year? So do you think like
But if we're giving Scotty Barnes the award now, anyways, like it's the entire body of work. I'm saying if a rookie can step up to the playoffs and take it to the next level and be a high level performer, that stands to his credit. It doesn't hurt anyone's legacy.
It's an interesting award, but it's just like I feel like recency bias will come into it too much. Like for instance, when the Raptors won the championship not long a few years ago, and Kawhi obviously wins Finals MVP. They probably would just give Kawhi MVP that season, and Kawhi didn't deserve MVP that season.
Yeah, I think the Finals MVP would be rendered obsolete. I don't think they'd see any need for it because realistically, the MVP would just go to whoever the best player in the finals was. Like probably because they would have had but they probably would have had 2 months of elite basketball with like at the highest level, and everyone's going to say, "Oh, they just did it when it mattered." That's going to be the like the calling card for every reason why someone.
But don't you think that will make players play harder for a while? Let's take LeBron James for example.
Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite.
Really?
Yeah, I think if they know they're going to get in the playoffs, they can just think, "Oh yeah, I've got a better chance of getting my award in if I just go hard in the playoffs." Like they're not going to worry about the regular season because I think the awards would almost become a postseason award, just because that's, as Connor said, I think the recency bias would be so high. And
is that a bad thing if 20 of the teams are going to the postseason anyways?
Yeah, but then what about the 10 teams who don't make it? Like what about
nobody cares about them getting an award?
Yeah, but they're still good players, aren't like
they're good players, but there's nobody we've mentioned other than Cade, who is not in the playoff contention, who would get any of these awards.
What about DeJounte Murray?
He wouldn't get an award, but he would be in the conversation. Yeah.
Well, he was in the all.
But he was in the play. But he was in the play-in. So like again,
okay.
It was and yeah. So what I'm saying is like by nature, if you're that good, where you deserve to be in these conversations, these big All NBA. Like All NBA can affect your money.
Oh, you mentioned Cade.
Yeah, but like Rookie of the Year is a bit of like a separate one because it's like most of these other awards they have big consequences. Klay not getting an All Defensive cost him a lot of money. I think the 20-30 million on his contract. They need to take into account more considerations because Klay not having an All Defensive is ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
I don't think it is.
What?
I don't think it is. I mean,
really?
I think the All Defensive too often goes to too many star names. I would give players like PJ Tucker an All Defensive over a Klay Thompson, a Royce O'Neal, like guys who are going to guard like the opposition's best players, who are like actual 3-and-D players. To be fair, you see players like Thibault now who are getting a bit of recognition. I can't think of many others at the moment, but PJ Tucker's the one who comes to mind, who's like, it's stupid how underrated these players are just because they don't dribble and hit step back threes and dunk on people. Like they're actually some of the best players in the NBA, and if you don't have those players in your team, you're not going to win anything because
there's glue guys.
But they're like glue and a bit more. They do more. So yeah, I think we've pretty much covered everything.
Yeah.
I think we've done well there. I think next week most of the round one playoff rounds will be finished, and we could do our conference semis, our conference finals, and our finals predictions again. I can't imagine too much change because most of us seem to be like pretty on point with our predictions. But yeah, this is going to be the first episode that goes on YouTube and Spotify and all other streaming platforms, hopefully. So that'll be good, and from now on we'll always be on there. So yeah, that'll be all from us. We'll see you next week or so.
See you.
Oh, awesome.